These are the takeaways you can expect from this module. Develop an understanding about Ansible. Understand what an Ansible playbook is. Discuss what a YAML file is and what Python lists, dictionaries and other complex data structures are within YAML, which is used by Ansible. Here you will also learn how to validate YAML. Learn how to install and configure Ansible. And understand what Ansible Inventory is. It is exciting to get introduced to Ansible, so let's get started. So let's begin our discussion by understanding what Ansible is. Ansible is an IT automation, configuration management and provisioning tool which can be used to deploy applications, manage systems and write infrastructure as code. Infrastructure as code is the term used to describe managing infrastructure using codebase. Ansible is one such tool by which we can manage the infrastructure through code which can be versioned and reused. Ansible is similar to Puppet, Chef and various other configuration management tools. But the main difference is Ansible is agentless as compared to Puppet or Chef. So we don't need any kind of Ansible agent running on the target node. We can just prepare the master node and can use Ansible to make the configuration changes or to install our software. We can also use it for provisioning our infrastructure. Ansible uses playbooks which consist of tasks and roles. Tasks are just a series of steps which we can write to define what needs to happen in the system, and roles are more of a generic entity. We can create roles. It is a modulated version of what the task is. Once we have written a role, we can apply it to as many systems as we want. The role will get applied to that particular system as per our requirement. The example for roles are Apache Server or MySQL DB Server. So once we have written a role, we can apply that role to the server and the respective roles will get installed. Ansible is mainly written in Python, and most of its modules are also written in Python, and if we want to write our own modules, then the preferred language is also Python. Ansible is agentless, so we don't need to have any kind of service running on the agent node to receive an Ansible command and provision it. Now, to understand what an Ansible playbook is, let's take a look at an example. So what this particular Ansible playbook does is it installs WordPress with MySQL, Nginx and PHP FPM. Let's review this playbook line by line. Here, the first line defines the name of the playbook and the second line defines the targeted host. In this case, we want to install WordPress on the host server called WordPress server. While the third line states the remote user who should be logged in to the remote service. The remote user is just the name of the user account. And then we have roles. It is a list of all the roles which we want to apply to our WordPress server. And if we look at the playbook carefully, the first 3 lines denote that it is a list, and inside each list we have individual components. So this particular playbook is one individual component. If we want, we can add another playbook here. Ansible playbooks are generally written in a markup format called YAML. It stands for Yet Another Markup Language, and it is similar to JSON. The file starts with triple hyphens. This is a requirement for YAML to interpret the file as a proper document. YAML allows multiple documents to exist in one file, each separated by triple hyphens. But Ansible only wants one document per file, so this should only be present at the top of the file. YAML is very sensitive to white space and uses that to group different pieces of information together. You should use only spaces and not tabs, and you must use consistent spacing for your file to be read correctly. Items at the same level of indentation are considered sibling elements. Items that begin with a dash are considered list items. Items that have the format of key value operate as hashes or dictionaries. That's pretty much all there is to basic YAML. YAML documents basically define a hierarchical tree structure with the containing elements further to the left. So when we work with Ansible playbooks, we are going to work a lot with the list. This is the YAML format. This is basically the data structure and how it is represented in YAML. When we write a line with a hyphen as a prefix, dash, it means that it is a list. And when we write a link with a colon in the key equals value format, then it represents a YAML dictionary. So in Ansible, we will be using the list of the list. List of dictionary, dictionary of the list, and all these kinds of data structures. So what is a list? The list is nothing but a series of values stored in the variable, and a dictionary is similar to the list, but except that it has a key and a value. For example, here the key is the remote user, and the value is root. Another example is the key is hosts, and the value is WordPress server. So it is very important to understand the list and dictionaries as the core data structures in these YAML files. As this is the YAML file, yet another markup language, we need to understand this to write Ansible playbooks. If you are familiar with JSON, then there is an option to write these playbooks in JSON as well. Also, there are a lot of tools which can convert from JSON to YAML and vice versa. But YAML is more efficient and is favoured by Ansible engineers.